All right, we're live. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh my gosh, do you actually know that song?
No, I know it from you.
Oh, it's Good Morning Love by John Legend, and not a lot of people know it.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome to the live.
Welcome.
We're gonna do rapid fire question answering, game show host style. Game show style.
Are you the host? Am I the guest?
I'm sure we'll go back and forth, but I have all the questions in front of me. So for everyone watching, we've written down some of the questions we have received about our program, The Seed. We have some questions we're going to be answering today. If you have any extra questions you want us to be tackling about The Seed, or about us, or about life, or about whatever, feel free to drop them in the comments. And yeah, what else is there to say?
Um, I'm so excited. That's all. Let's go.
All right. So question number one. What is it?
What is it?
What
And
is The
where?
Seed? And where and when?
Do I take this one?
Sure.
Okay. The Seed is a 5-week online learning experience that Erin and I decided to design. One, because it was one of our most requested programs as New Room, what initially started as our
Good morning,
basic
Rox.
fundamental Good Morning Rocks ideas program, ideas being inclusion, diversity, equity, access, social impact, and the way that we use the term. And we really wanted to make this program more accessible. We really wanted to be able to serve more people, but also be able to um, offer it in different modalities and really curate it and design it in a way that we felt would be most appropriate for this kind of learning and in the ways that we felt um, would allow folks to navigate this content at such a pivotal time in our collective.
I love the
Did
word
I miss
modalities.
anything? What
But
did you say?
I said I love the word modalities as far as
Oh,
offering this content in different modalities. Are you thinking about the different types of learning content?
I'm thinking about the different types of learning content. So we have video modules that we've recorded of us walking through the content and that are much more kind of theory focused. And it's almost like a video podcast learning style that we have as the first kind of way to navigate. Additionally to that, we are having an online community that we've named The Garden, where folks can convene and share and um, till soil as they see fit and as they feel they need and engage with one another. Following that, how else do we have? We have wonderful weekly lives with our facilitators that we are very, very excited to present to the world and to present to our communities and to be able to co host these sessions with. And we have fertilizers, just additional reading and resources and tools that we felt were pivotal to our learning that we collected and curated into a wonderful master list of resources.
Mm-hmm. I figure since the point of this live is to be transparent, answer some questions, maybe I'll pull up a page from our curriculum overview, our program overview. This
Yeah.
is a document, by the way, that you can download if you go to jointheseed.online, which lays out all the program details. You can see all of the modules, which we are going to be talking through, all the ways of learning. This page to stage here. So this
And
page,
because I was thinking about this page as I was responding to that, I was like,
yeah,
oh, what's the layout?
this page lays out what Danny was just talking about here. So we have each module, there are 5 modules, 5 weeks. Each module has a read section, a watch section that Danny was just laying out, that podcast style learning, a facilitated session, self-directed work, that great live conversation we're going to be hosting with facilitators, and then the space for exchange in the garden. I will remove this.
Yes.
Add this.
I have I know. Can you find the question? Oh no, I can't do that. Can I?
What question?
I was going to ask. Was this an EDI training?
Oh yes.
Yes. I'm asking you that.
Yeah. Okay. Is this EDI training? Dang it! You gave me this question.
I'm so sorry.
This is definitely our answer to EDI training. People have reached out to us and said, can you offer us some EDI training, equity, diversity, inclusion training, diversity and inclusion training, justice, equity, diversity, inclusion training, the different acronyms that can be used. IDEAS is the acronym that we use for this training. The way that we're tackling our version of EDI training is through this program, the Seed. We have concepts that we're sharing. We have theory that we're sharing around the self and how our identity shows up, how our privilege shows up, how our power shows up, how our unconscious biases show up. We also have theory around the dominant systems at play, how the dominant systems show up in the values that shape the ways that we work and interact with each other. We also bring in theory and concepts and tons of workshopping and exercises around how we can reimagine these systems broadly, societally, but also on a personal, individual, team, community level, how we can start shifting our practices through a creative, exploratory, imaginative lens. So yes, this is EDI training.
I feel like it's a yes and.
It's a yes and, yeah. And
the
and would be, how would you answer that and?
It's an EDI training, and it's a program that allows you to make meaning of those words for yourself. And I think that, EDI, ideas, Jedi, has kind of taken on lives and associations of their own, and misconceptions and preconceptions of their own. People kind of expect to learn those things in a specific way, be it through unconscious bias training or, a 2-week module, a 2-week kind of workshop, 1 hour workshop. So I think it's a yes, and we're trying to really have folks understand how ideas is the foundation to most of the work that we do, to our identities, to social impact, to collective liberation, to ...
And when you're saying the work that we do, you mean you and I, you mean the collective we, the work that we're trying to do to build better businesses, better societies.
Yeah. Exactly.
Bon matin, Jean-Julien. Absolutely aussi un impact positif sur la communauté. We are thinking about this as well. I think this question of, is it EDI training? This is a good one under which to place a little conversation around our mindset of introspection. So introspection is a genius word that Danny and I came up with.
Just can't help ourselves.
When we first started the company, we were like, brainstorming business names and all kinds of different stuff and thinking about our approach to how we wanted to build programming. And introspection landed for us. It's an amalgamation of 3 different words: introduction, introspection, intersection.
Oh, you got it right. I always mess it up.
Especially considering how little coffee I've had.
Yeah, it's impressive.
My brain will really have to start.
Impressive.
So introduction, first and foremost, the way that we've designed this program and the way that we think about our programming as a whole is that we want to make the foundation of the content that we share not introductory 101, but right above that. We want the program to be a place that people can land regardless of where they're at, on their journey of engaging with ideas or EDI. We want people to be able to find themselves in that space. And the way that we bring depth to the theory is through conversations, through exercises, through personal reflection, and through the second word in introspection, which is introspection. And so we're bringing depth to the content in the way that we encourage participants to introspect, to contemplate how these concepts, how these theories, how the things that they're learning shift their perspective of themselves, of the people around them, of society, of labels, of ideologies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that brings us to the third keyword that's important for us to contemplate here, which is intersection. So we want this program to be a meeting ground for people from a vast variety of different lived experiences with a vast variety of identities. It's important for us to honor and to acknowledge the intersection of people's identities, the difference of people's identities, and to create a space through this program and the way that we facilitate it and design it for people to acknowledge the different intersection of their own identities, but also the intersection of other people's. So all this to say,
Yes, and.
yes, and yeah, the question of yes, and the and I was thinking about was this is training, CDI training, but it's also a program that's going to allow for a lot of personal reflection, hopefully some personal development, definitely some professional development, some skill building around becoming more emotionally intelligent, relationally intelligent, compassionate towards self and others.
Mm-hmm.
Curious.
I think depending on to your point around earlier point around right above introductory, and us wanting this to be accessible to folks at different levels of their learning journey. I think depending on where you are on your learning journey, it'll either be a little bit more professional development or personal development. I think that folks who are maybe a little bit more advanced are invited to, as you mentioned, dive deeper through the somatic prompts and really this element of like being in the body and sitting in the body and noticing what comes up in the body. And then those who are new to this journey are probably going to be thinking of it a little bit more like practical. Okay, how can I do this in a practical, kind of tangible way?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how can I bring a sense of structure and planning and what's the word that comes up a lot? How can I bring a sense of organization? That's not the word. What's the word that Drew used the other day? Communities need to be organized. Maybe it is organization, like once you reach a certain level with your understanding of these concepts and you start actively engaging in ideas, practices in your day-to-day and your week-to-week, you really start understanding the importance of active community work, of continuous engagement, of bringing a sense of continuity and consistency to how you're engaging. And that requires some planning and some thinking ahead and some recognition that you're not in it alone. And we do touch on that within this program as well, which is nice.
Next question.
Next question. Should I like shuffle or just
Yeah,
go?
shuffle. No, shuffle. Who is this for? Big question. So I think we intentionally left the learner profile quite broad in an effort to have people, thank you, from different sectors and different industries and then a different point of their journeys be able to interact with one another and engage with one another, because that's where, for me and for us, that's where the most enriching learning happens, through the exchange with different folks. And so, it could be a people manager. If you have people under you and are really trying to understand these concepts from a managerial perspective, how do I lead people with different identities and different experiences in a more intentional way? It could be a student of life, which is, I think, what I would categorize myself under. I sign up for all these courses because I'm like, this is so interesting. I want to know more about this. It has nothing to do with my job, but super interesting. Or it could be tied to my job, but not right now. Maybe this is something that you want to be aspiring to be learning towards.
Oh, let's dig in a little bit here around, let's say ideas concepts are not part of your job. What are they a part of?
They're a part of your relationships. They're a part of the way that you engage with your community, the way that you engage with your family members. I was facilitating a workshop the other day, and a woman in it was saying how she never thought this work was for her until her son came out as non-binary. And then all of a sudden, her entire life revolved around this work, and she had to become a master of this work and understand, okay, what does this language mean? Okay, why is this coming up for me? And so I think that we think that it won't apply directly to our work. And what I was saying earlier was that this work really is like the underpinning of how we exist as a collective. Would you add to that?
No, that's beautiful.
Great. I'm an EDI, DIB committee member. We get reached out to from a lot of folks who are committee members or committee leaders often, and who want to be able to understand how to structure these committees in a more efficient way, how to have certain conversations within the context of the committee, how to set objectives with the committee. So, committee members, welcome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a business owner. Did you want to add to committee member?
The committee member piece, that's an interesting role to be in, because you have to manage down and up. I don't like that notion of like the hierarchy, but you are thinking about how to serve the team while at the same time needing, oftentimes, unfortunately, to justify what budget you need, what time investment you need from senior management. So hopefully this is a program where you can start strategizing for how you can engage in those conversations, broadly to the team and also to the specific decision makers who you need to be working alongside you.
Mm-hmm. Last two, I'm a business owner. So you own a business, you just started a business, and you're wanting to be thinking about how to do things differently, how to lead differently, how to grow differently, how to have impact in the local communities that you are in and serving and operating in differently, how to market differently, you name it. And then I am a corporate or nonprofit professional. So this work directly ties to the work that you do in some way, shape, or form. And we have, I'll put a pin in, I was gonna say we have different pricing for different points, but I'll put a pin in that. So yes, corporate nonprofit, this work directly ties to your mission and or to your desire to be and function in a corporate space, keeping these concepts in mind, top of mind.
I think the thread that ties all of these together is that the people that will join will have a real sense of self-directed, will have a self-directed sense of wanting to engage in this work. And the reason I'm saying that about the thread is because I'm sure people are looking at this and being like, wow, this is a vast array of types of learners. It's a very intentional decision for us to have gone down this route. As Dani was saying at the very beginning of this conversation, we wanted this program to be accessible to more folks. We didn't want it to focus in solely on teams and corporate settings, because we want the information and the learning to be accessible, but also because we want for the learning experience to be richer for everyone and to have a vast variety of different types of learners and participants. It enables richer discussions, and richer brainstorming, and ultimately better ideas to come out of these conversations. So it's a very intentional decision for us to go down this route.
Mhm. I also think that the way that the program is structured, through the reflective prompts, really is first and foremost like an individual journey. So, hence why we tied back in the personal development a little bit in here is that I think familiarizing yourself with these concepts and really owning them for yourself and understand how they apply to your individual life will allow you and empower you to be able to do whatever it is that you're doing better.
Mm.
And the underpinning of that being, yes, people who want to learn, who are eager to get a better sense of how to navigate an ever evolving world.
Mm. Just a note on how much our perception or our perspectives can expand based on being in front of people who are in different work environments or life stages than us. During the pilot, we had someone who took part who works for a nonprofit, but as well as that is a farmer, has done tons of work with kids doing all kinds of farming. And
Pause. What's the pilot?
all right, the pilot was, we ran a pilot version of this program, which was an intensive, an intensive version of this program for folks in the nonprofit space. And we ran it over a week rather than 5 weeks. So it was really like an immersive, every day we're moving through a module sort of learning experience. Maybe a little much because there was a lot to learn.
Yeah, they are the real MVPs for that.
Yeah. Regardless, though, it was a beautiful experience. And during the facilitated exchanges or the engage hours, there was a lot of rich conversation about how people were interpreting the concepts. And this person who I was just mentioning, who was a farmer, they brought so many beautiful analogies to what we were talking about as far as community building, relationship building, like understanding the self and relationship with others. And every time this person brought in an analogy that was connected to farming, everyone else was just like, wow, that just lands so perfectly. And one of the analogies that they shared was this notion of like they're Colombian, and this notion of this expression that is like you're trying to get an apple from a pear tree. Did I get that? It was something.
Yes, something like
Yeah,
that.
and essentially this notion of um, it was about understanding expectations, and it was about understanding where the person in front of you is at as far as their own learning journey or what they are capable of engaging with you on. And that analogy of like I'm trying to get an apple from a pear tree just stuck with everybody so strongly. So all this to say, engaging with folks from other areas like can really help to bring so much life
Right.
and
Color, texture.
color, yeah, to the concepts that we're talking about. Jean,
Jean-Julien?
yeah, go for
Yeah,
it.
no. I was going to say, quels sont certains de vos KPI que vous considérez si tel peut être un élément de votre approche?
So, as far as KPIs,
Tu veux pas répondre en français, toi?
non, mais OK, pour les KPI, c'est-tu le
Key
même
Performance
acronyme en
Unit.
français?
Ouais, Jean-Julien, dis-nous si c'est le même acronyme, on n'est pas trop sûr.
OK. Pour les KPI qu'on mesure, quand on mesure avec nos clients, c'est très dépendant sur les KPI qu'ils sont en train d'utiliser et sur les méthodes d'engagement de leurs employés qu'ils sont en train d'utiliser. On veut vraiment commencer avec une base de connaissances qui est déjà établie. ICP.
Indicateur clé de performance. Got it.
Donc, on veut vraiment mesurer sur une base qui est déjà établie à l'entreprise. Merci beaucoup. Donc, par exemple, on est en train de travailler avec un client qui mesure le niveau de confiance, le niveau de belonging, le niveau de empowerment. Those are difficult words to translate. Et donc, on établit une stratégie, un plan d'action qui est connecté à la culture, qui est connecté au concept de ideas, de diversité, équité et l'inclusion. Et par contre, on va utiliser les ICP qui sont déjà établis dans leur méthode de survey. Wow, that was all over the place.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I also am just going to go ahead and say, like, I'm not a big fan of KPIs. I think KPIs keeps us stuck in performance related metrics as opposed to people related metrics. Um, I think I had seen this post on Instagram, meaning like saying KPIs is like keep people interested, keep people informed, keep people involved, keep people inspired.
Yeah, I love that.
And I rather think of this work and all work, to be honest, as how do we keep people and center like humans in the midst of organizational growth? Like, what makes a human who they are and be motivated to do their best work and therefore ultimately perform better? I'm just going to put that out there.
I agree. The thing is that like the clients that we work with, I think this is connected to this notion of like managing up, managing down. Because the things that you say you measure and the things that you mandate, others will recognize as being valid spends of time. So, ultimately, where you and I want to get to, I think, with clients is to get them to a place where they decide for themselves how they're going to be holding themselves accountable, what they're going to be holding themselves accountable to. And if they want to see a 10 or 15 point increase on an employee engagement survey around the notion of trust, that works for us, because what's most important is you've made a commitment. You're going to be looking back at this in 3 months. You're going to establish some sort of plan to continuously engage in trust building. And it brings a sense of like stability and groundedness to things that for some people could feel abstract, like keeping people engaged, keeping people inspired, or all those things that we really want people to be doing. What if you were going to play the game of what KPI would you want people to see an increase in, or what KPI you would use to measure the success of the seed? What would you pick?
I would definitely, because our tagline being, growing cultures deeply rooted in belonging, I think, measuring that sense of belonging would definitely be a big one. How do people of different lived experiences feel like they belong to your organization or feel like they are being empowered, promoted, you name it?
Yeah.
I would definitely keep belonging high up there. I think I would keep, but it's tricky because it depends who's also participating in the program. If the manager is participating in the program, then I definitely feel like that's a strong one that I would keep as a KPI. I think if it's kind of entry level staff or not entry level, that's not what I meant. I meant essentially staff on the ground and not management staff. I think that KPI would be a sense of empowerment. Yeah. It's a good question, though. What would you say?
I love belonging as an indicator, and I think the way we would go down it is so this is something that Lauren and I briefly touched on during last week's live, which was the actual practices or principles that are connected to co-creating a sense of belonging. John Powell of the Berkeley Institute of Belonging and Othering.
Good job.
Is someone whose work we greatly admire, whose theories and concept around belonging are integrated into the seed. And Dr. Powell talks about 4 ways that belonging is co-created concretely. And Those include agency, power, care, love, respect, and a shared sense of responsibility. And if I think you and I would have a great time diving into how we actually begin measuring what is agency, like how do we measure agency, how do we measure power, how do we measure care, love, and respect, you know? And I think on that note, with this sort of work, I feel like we need different modes of measurement, because it's one thing to get people to fill out an employee engagement survey. It's a completely other thing to keep track of, you know, how many times does someone vocalize when they don't have all the information that they need, or when they're unsure about where to go from here? How many, one-on-one check-ins has a manager had with their staff, just to like see how people are doing? How many times has the team, without being prompted, met for lunch? Like essentially, like we need to expand our perspective of how we actually explore how people are engaging.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think maybe a good sub to that would be the question around what are people learning, or the green screen.
Well, yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. Why should I join?
Yeah.
Why should I join? Let me move this page before I bring it back up. By the way, everyone who's watching this, as we're showing you some of these screens, these are, so we mentioned the course outline. That is something that you can download on jointheseed.online, but a few of these images or slides are actually directly from jointheseed.online. So if you want information about who the program is for, or these learning objectives of why you should join, these can be found on jointheseed.online. Okay. Why should I?
Why should I join? First and foremost, dive into an accessible introduction to ideas, concepts, theories, and frameworks. I'm going to underline accessible here because I often have a conversation. I used to have it a lot more in my previous work, but I think about it often, all the time, about how oftentimes when we think about accessibility, we're thinking about mobility and like physical accessibility, and we very rarely land on like accessibility to information and how information is made accessible to different types of learning. So underlying accessible here. Better understanding and plan for how personal actions can contribute to community and systemic change. I'm going to point that one to you. Do you want to flesh that?
This is an area where I think, this is a bridge that we need to walk over. So we can understand our personal actions and the importance of those, but we don't always understand how they impact community level change, systemic change. And a big takeaway from the seed is understanding how all of those are interconnected, how small actions directly connect to the larger impact we want to see. We actually start to explore and plan how daily actions, weekly actions can begin to shift some of the larger change that you want to see. And I think that this is one of the ways that the program adds a sense of hope and clarity to work that can feel very daunting, very, very large, and sometimes
Yeah,
overwhelming.
that was great. Thank you.
You want me to keep going? Because I feel like you've done a lot of reading.
Sure. Sure.
So connect with and find support from folks who are actively engaged in social change. This is not work that we want to or can do alone. So we create a lot of opportunities throughout the seed to meet in the garden, through our engage sessions, where we actually facilitate lots of workshopping and group work where you get to connect with people. It's a really important part of feeling supported as you move through this. Grow trust in your ability to engage in ideas conversations more confidently. So as well as understanding some of the concepts connected to these pieces of inclusion, diversity, equity, access, and social impact, we're also going to be practicing, you all will be practicing individually, actually expressing yourself about some of these things in writing through the workbook. So you do a lot of exercising and personal reflection, but also in groups through the facilitated hour in the garden. So there's lots of different ways to begin actually practicing integrating these concepts into the way that you express and communicate. Deepen self-awareness while developing an ability to build relationships centered in care. So this is about understanding the self and understanding how the self connects with the people around you. Thank you, Jean-Julien. I know our comments are delayed slightly, but appreciate you engaging and thank you for the question. So yeah, caring for self and caring for others and understanding how you can show up with more care to both you and the people around you. And finally, grow the skills needed to lead inspired change in workplaces and beyond. This is really about professional development skills, what some people are now calling power skills, what used to be called soft skills. This is about, people skills and understanding how you can lead through change. Anything else you want to say about why someone should join?
No, nothing else. I think ultimately this is the program that I wish existed when I had first started my journey. So if you're first starting your journey, if you're like, oh, I want to know more, but like, what, where, this is it. Next.
I actually want to take a minute just to read through some of the notes that we had put down around why teams should join. So those we don't have on a screen anywhere, but I will read them out to you. And Danny, feel free to jump in anytime. So for teams, why should teams join? Become better equipped to collaborate cross-functionally. This is connected to that relationship building piece. Develop skills that allow you to engage in ideas, conversations more confidently as a team. So you could think about how to meaningfully and continuously engage in ideas or EDI. Learn the practices and actions that contribute to a culture that fosters belonging. Learn to use times of uncertainty for opportunities for growth, about leading through change. Practice using a designer mindset to generate ideas and innovate as a team. So if you're thinking about where you go from here as a group, and you want to be thinking about how you can integrate a lens of social impact or more equitable approaches to stakeholder engagement, this is a great place to brainstorm as a group. And then finally, gain clarity on your organization's social impact, especially for decision makers if you're thinking about wanting to explore impact beyond profit. If you're wanting to explore impact beyond profit, this is a good place to idea generate, to think about your vision, to plan with some of your peers for how you want to communicate about that. Yeah. Next.
Yep.
Okay, well, can we do this as a team? Which
I think that just answered.
Yeah, we just answered that. Absolutely, we welcome you as a team.
Maybe a note on that is for the folks who are joining as a team, you won't be learning with the team though. We intentionally want to kind of break teams apart and have teams, maybe I'll rewind that to saying that we will be navigating this learning experience in groups of 20. So for each facilitator that we have, every group of 20 will have one different facilitator. And so if you're joining as a team, the likelihood of you staying with your team is low, and intentionally so. So we really want to encourage teams to break apart, to see this as an individual learning experience first, and then have moments of convergence where you touch back and you touch point and check back in.
Great timing. What will you/we cover? I'll pull up our modules.
Yep.
And again, this is something that you can see in our program overview, which you can download on jointheseed.online.
I'll take this one.
Sure.
Okay. So, Module 1, Cultures of Belonging. This is where we dive into essentially beyond ideas, landing into this idea of belonging as the thread that binds us together, and as the notion that we really want people to be remembering throughout the course. So, belonging, as Erin mentioned, is a framework that we pulled from, that we got inspired from Dr. John Powell from the Institute of Belonging and Othering. We navigate his theories, his concepts, his views, the recipes to belonging, belonging versus othering, and what it truly means to have institutionalized belonging as a pillar for social change and social innovation. We then move into privilege, power, and trust, where we spend some time unpacking our identities, looking at the privilege that belonging to certain groups and the belonging to certain groups provides, the power that then gives us, the role of our circles of trust and all of that. Am I missing something from privilege, power, trust?
Trust then goes to, so after we explore power and how trust plays a role, we look at
Intersectionality.
we look at intersectionality, we look at cycles of oppression,
Right?
and then narratives.
And then narratives. I don't want to walk through it all, but I'm gonna keep kind of,
Module 2 is a big one.
it's a big one. As well as 2 and 3, so understanding systems, where we unpack essentially the dominant systems that are at play societally, really understanding how the ideologies that shape these greater systems that impact us. And then we actually spend some time to learn about systems thinking. So what does it look like to reimagine some of these systems based on the grand kind of mother system that is nature, and learning from nature as a inspiration for redesigning the systems that we want to see. Module 4, we're going to building communities of care. So we're really beginning to think about, how do we design the communities around us? How do we gain inspiration from different frameworks and frameworks that exist out there to help us really think about our direct relationships with the people around us, both at an interpersonal level, at a community level, at a team level, how we can begin to think about the influence that we can play in our microspheres of, I was going to say micro spheres of influence, but ooh, shambly. And then we close off with moving forward with intention, which is our final module, where we really think about what comes next. What comes next, really depending on where you are at as a team, as an organization. We provide different frameworks to follow, different models to follow, depending on where you are at. And we actually follow Module 5 up for the folks who are joining as a team or as an organization with a kind of one-pager walkthrough on where to begin and where to go.
Yeah, how to continue this work as a team. A little note on these little images that you're seeing beside the modules. Obviously, this is a seed. This is a seed that's growing over time. The whole idea with each one of these modules is that we're planting seeds that are connected to these titles that Danny just ran through. And our hope throughout this entire program is that different seeds are going to spark different things for you. We trust that the seeds that are going to get planted are the ones that need to get planted. With each one of these modules, we're planting 4 or 5 seeds. So at the end, once we get to moving forward with intention, we've looked at so many different concepts and frameworks and seeds that you can begin planting in your daily life, in your work life, in your community work, in your your work within your business or the organization where you work. And we tie a thread amongst all of these seeds, but there's really an opportunity throughout to more deeply engage in the ones that speak to you because of the way that the garden is designed and because of that tool that Danny mentioned earlier called the fertilizers, which is a way for you to deep dive into the seeds that really spark something for you. There's just a lot to take from this, a lot that can grow, a lot that can root. Yeah. All right. Our final question.
I love hearing you walk through these. You walk them so succinctly.
The modules or the seeds?
Yeah, the modules and the seeds.
Thank you for that. I feel the same about you.
I mean, thank you. Thank you.
Good morning. All right, final question. How much is it?
How much is it? We have a 3. Oh, no, go ahead.
I don't. You again. Like I feel like I'm asking the questions and then they land on you, and I don't want you to feel like you're taking.
No, because I feel like you compliment my answers really well.
Okay. Do you want to start?
I'll start. You compliment. 3-tier pricing, first and foremost for individual learners at $395. So this is if you are self-funding, if you are joining as a student of life, if you are not tied to an organization or workplace, or if your workplace is like, we're not paying for this, and you are wanting to cover this out of pocket. So $395. For nonprofit organizations, $495 per person. So keeping it, again, accessible for folks who are doing mission-driven work, but also who have limited budgets, and who are often the folks that Erin and I, because of our capacity, haven't gotten the chance to work as much with, and that we are hoping to be able to draw in a little bit. And then if you are a corporation, you are looking at a price of $950 per person. The idea and hope here being that, the corporations who have a little bit more of a budget, a little bit more of an L&D budget, can help cover the costs and subside the costs for individual learners, for nonprofit organizations. That this feels like a community effort in accessibility.
Yes, absolutely. And we also should note that we have determined some percentage discounts for corporations based on the number of people that you want to be bringing in to the program. So please reach out to us if you have any questions about bringing your team on. We'd love to have you. We'd love to hear your questions. There were 2 other questions that were coming to mind as we were talking about this.
Can I pay in installments? What if I can't pay up front?
Can I pay in installments? Do you want to answer that one?
Sure.
No, just because I'm thinking my brain's going on the other questions. There's something else.
Yes, you can definitely pay in installments if you're an individual learner. Also, in general, we're very welcome to kind of payment plans, so long as by the end of the program, balances are cleared. If you feel like you wanted to pay in 2 times, in 3 payments, we are very, very welcome to accommodating folks where they're at. And we mentioned in the course that money shouldn't be a barrier for learning for us. And so if ever any of these or none of these work for you, please reach out so that we can see how we can still accommodate.
Yes. This was a question that just came to mind, which people have asked. I know we're kind of backtracking here, but how much work can you actually expect throughout the seed? You're looking at about 4 hours per module of full engagement. So that includes your pre-reads, your watch, that hour and a half of facilitated with us, and then some time spent in the garden engaging with other folks. You can spend more time if you want to engage in the fertilizers. You could spend less time, but what's the point? So in total, you're looking at about 20 hours of work over 5 weeks. This is not a nothing program. There's a lot to take in. There are a lot of concepts to wrap your mind around, but there's also a lot of great conversations and exercises to engage in that could really contribute to some meaningful some meaningful revelations. So we hope that if you join us, when you join us, that you're ready to put in some work, that you set aside some intentional time throughout your week, that you see it really as a learning program, and that you commit over the 5 weeks to fully dive in.
It's a great way to start the year also.
100% agree.
You know, if you're thinking about, okay, 2024 is going to be different, either from a professional level, from a team level, from a personal level, this is really a great, some great laying blocks and foundational tools to kick off the year.
Yes. Anything else that comes to mind for final questions?
No final questions. Registration is open until January 15th, I believe. So we have a good 5 weeks of registration opening. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please reach out. I did see a question that we got by email regarding French. Malheureusement, le programme n'est pas encore disponible en français. Mais il y a des francophones qui l'ont pris dans le pilote. So if ever you are French, comfortable enough with English to navigate the program and feel like you want to maybe attend facilitated sessions and contribute in French, we can definitely accommodate for that. Mais pas encore. On sait qu'on est au Québec, ça va venir. Laissez-nous du temps.
Any other closing thing? Do you have
That's
something?
it.
I think
No?
that's it. Yeah, that pretty much covers the questions that we've received so far. I'll say it again, although you can see it on the screen. You can check out details at jointheseed.online. You can message Dani or I. We'd really love to see you there. We're going to be back next week on Wednesday. And for the next 3 Wednesdays in a row leading up to the end of the year, with more of these live conversations that we're actually going to be hosting with some of the key collaborators and facilitators of the program who are going to be with us in January. So next week, we're having a conversation with Maya Toussaint. The week after that, we're having a conversation with
Dr. Nicole
Charles. And the following week after that, we're having a conversation with Drew Bathory. They're all going to be incredible. We hope to see you there. And that actually reminds me of the other question that I had floating around in my mind, which was how many people are going to participate in the seed? We're aiming for this first cohort to get 100 participants, mixture of individuals, teams. And as Dani was mentioning, we're going to be splitting groups up into groups of 20. So each group is facilitated by one person continuously throughout the 5 weeks. So a group of 20 will be with me, a group of 20 will be with Dani, a group of 20 will be with Maya, a group of 20 with Drew, and a group of 20 with Lauren, who was with us on this live last week. So help us get to 100. Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Tell your people, tell your friends, tell your colleagues.
Yeah.
So much for 30 minutes. We are the worst.
I know. I'm like, we're doing this rapid fire.
Yeah, this is a slow fire, slow burn.
Oh, God. Okay. Love you lots.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day, everyone. I'm clicking end stream now.